Time to go back inside. Don't forget your seatbelt, buddy. Hey everybody, it's Ryan. Welcome back to How Farms Work. It's a colder Wisconsin morning, and last night we got a couple inches of snow dumped on us. However, with the temperature of the ground and the air temperature is above freezing, so I'm kind of banking on it being gone by tomorrow morning at the latest. But we're 2 weeks away from planting, so I'm definitely hoping that this isn't here to stay around for a while. And as any inquiring farmer would want to do, we're headed to Cuba City to meet up with Andrew. He's going to show us around Nutrien's seed treatment system that they've got running today. And they're treating soybean seeds. So we are going to head over there, meet up with him. He's going to talk about soybean treating a little bit. When I worked at Premier back in 2014, I helped treat soybean seed, and we put them into those large pro boxes, they call them, since when you plant soybeans, you're going to be using a lot more seed than you would with corn. So that necessitates treating the soybean seeds on site so then they can be shipped in bulk, and you can treat them with what you need as needed at the facility before they head to the farmer. So we're going to head over to Cuba City and meet up with Andrew, see what's going on today. It's going to be a slower day around the farm anyway, so this is probably a better day to get away. So a little information for you guys as we head into the 22 crop year. We are a net positive on crop ground by about 150 acres, which is really cool. We lost some ground because the land got sold, and the new owners are taking control of that. But roughly, we picked up about 200 acres. So we're net positive, which is great. I'm excited to use the 9770 this year for a full harvest season to see what it can do. I think the big thing is going to be able to harvest as fast as we can into the bins there at Rockville. Basically as fast as we can keep the corn away from the combine. But the semi will still be a limiting factor later on in the season. I also just heard that apparently the 9510 is sold. The new owners are going to be changing out the cylinder in the combine, and apparently going to be using it to harvest cypress grass, which I've never seen done, but I thought that was kind of interesting. And apparently it's heading to Arkansas. We're about to pull into Nutrien. Andrew's going to show us how they treat soybeans.
Those are getting treated yet. So some manufacturers ship the beans in the soft-sided bags, and then some send them in the hard boxes.
Yep.
So depends on what seed treater or seed tender a guy has. Some of them need the hard boxes, like the ones we usually send out to you. So we transfer them out of these bags into the hard boxes. When we started this process, this whole area back here was full of broken down boxes waiting to get filled, and we had a couple hundred back here. Those all got filled, and we've sent out a lot of beans so far.
These boxes are a lot of fun to break down.
Yeah,
You can spend a whole day doing that.
we've got a machine that does it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that you put on the front of the forklift and drive up to it, and then it flips it over and puts it back down.
Well, that's cool.
We help treat for a couple other locations too, so it's really convenient having them all right here, bringing them in here, and then treating them. And the process that we're running right now is they're the nicest beans I've ever seen come through a treater. It's amazing as they come in, even from the seed suppliers. There'll be a little bit of the seed coatings and different things in there, stuff that can plug a planter up and not give you as good of planting experience. The system that we have here takes care of all that, removes it, and really gives you a very clean box of seed.
You know where the majority of our seed comes from?
Every one of these seed tags will have a where it was brought from. So this is Iowa, this particular one, these 24XF ones.
Cool. So when was this installed?
February.
Of this year?
They kind of just got it done, yeah. Late January, beginning of February, so.
What'd you guys use before this?
We used a myode treater. It was just a regular hopper with one conveyor back into another hopper and then down into the boxes or bags. So
Okay.
that one worked nice, but this one's a lot more automated and whatnot.
Foolproof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is really.
And you can see the accuracy right here. So everything was 100 to 101% accurate.
Does 101% mean you slightly over applied?
Just a little bit.
Okay. Better.
I mean, this whole thing goes off of loss and weight. So there's an electronic solenoid door at the beginning in that front hopper, and we got it set for 1,200 pounds a minute. So that thing closes and shuts just a little bit so it can regulate that 1,200 pounds per minute. And then it runs into the drum, and all the kegs that we have set up are all on loss and weight. So depending on how fast the beans are going through the drum, the pumps on the keg speed up depending on the scale and what it's reading that it's losing out of it.
Okay.
So I mean, it's all.
So it applies it more evenly.
Yeah, it applies it a lot more evenly than. I mean, a lot of places still mix it by hand and slurry it, which that's what we used to do, and it's just more time consuming because you're hand measuring every gallon that you're putting in there, and this one's all through the computer and super easy once you get everything set up in the computer, but that takes a while. So.
Okay. What are we putting on it right now?
These first ones that are going in, we're putting Cruiser Max Vibrance and then Dynastart 3P, which is an inoculant with a little bit of growth regulator in it too.
Okay.
And then we put 007, which is a dry powder that dries the beans. We put that on all our beans. And Andrew, you know more about that. I mean, that helps.
Yeah.
Helps with drying and helps them go through the planters a lot better, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So
Cruiser Max is like a fungicide, isn't it?
fungicide and insecticide.
Insecticide?
Yep.
Okay.
But we got that, and then we'll do a few more here later today that'll have Cruiser, Saltro, Dynastart, and 007. So it'll have everything we have on the stands right now. So.
Okay. Yep. So these are for calibration initially.
Okay.
So you bring it up so much, and then it'll fill to the certain line, and you know that's where you need to be at to get the system set up. Because every chemical is a little different viscosity, so it's going to flow differently.
This is to keep it at 1,200 pounds per minute, which is right there. So the yellow bar here is showing that it's staying steady, and then these ones down here are all the liquid. So it's just showing the live trend that everything's staying steady and where it needs to be, and that's the proper rate. That's where it gets its accuracy from. So that's the one nice part about it is you always know, and then if you have a problem, you can stop it and figure out what your problem is. And if it's bad enough, they usually will stop on its own, but it never really happens.
What's with the samples?
We take a sample from every unit. And we got how long do we keep the sample?
You gotta legally keep the sample for 2 years in case someone has a question about it. Then we can track the sequence number on the bag back to what we treated and prove that it was a good sample. So.
Okay.
The inoculant here.
Looks like brown pudding.
Yeah. So that's the inoculant. So what we're doing is we're putting the bags of the inoculant in there. Because this is a heated environment, we could be treating these now. You know, if we were in just cold storage, we wouldn't want to have these out yet because the life expectancy of them is going to decrease. So these are living organisms, bugs, that are going to help with the nitrogen fixation on the beans. That's the inoculant part. Some guys put inoculant on right at the seed tender. There's liquid forms and there's dry forms. This is the simplest way of doing it, just having it all come out to the farm. You don't have to put anything else out there when it comes out there. If you're planting soybeans on virgin ground that hasn't had beans in the past, we sometimes will double inoculate them just because there's not going to be a lot of that bacteria readily available to fix that nitrogen for them compared to acres that have had beans on them previously. And so we'll send out, I think you guys have used Graphics in the past, a dry inoculant to double inoculate those beans. But so these hoppers are for the package stuff that we put in. They are still calibrated. You see the barcode there with the Dynastart 3P. And the inoculant that we're using is a Loveland product that also has the IBA acid in there, so very similar to the Radiate product that you guys have used on the farm. Travis has really seen good performance on that. Just gives that plant a boost coming up out of the ground. The Cruiser Max Vibrance is your fungicide insecticide, and so that's going to help with any plant diseases that could be there when those beans are trying to germinate, and some of the smaller insects that could be eating at them. So there's different products of fungicide insecticide. We've got the Cruiser Max here. There's some Acceleron on the other side, depending on what beans are getting treated and what the customers want. But they basically do a similar job, still fighting the plant diseases and the insects that could keep those plants coming out of the ground. And the other product we have is a Saltro that's on this side. So SDS, or sudden death syndrome, has been a big issue in this particular area. I know there's hot spots across the country that are seeing that sudden death syndrome in their beans. And Saltro has made just a tremendous impact on being able to help that plant fight off that disease. And there's another product called Olivo that also helps with the sudden death syndrome. But the Saltro, we're seeing typically about a 3 bushel advantage to it, whether or not there is that sudden death syndrome. In areas and fields that we have had sudden death syndrome, we saw last year one field, a guy finished planting his soybeans field with some untreated seed, did not have the Saltro on there, but had the Saltro on the rest, and it was right to the line. You could see what the beans were treated and not, and that was over 10 bushel. Wow. At current market prices, that's $140 an acre for something that's going to run you just a little bit north of $10 to put on the beans. Yeah, and then we got dye. So the dye. So if we aren't using like
the Cruiser Max.
Everything that's treated has to have that dye in it. So that's just going to help with the color and being able to see where the treatment is. Otherwise, like if say you're just putting Saltro on, which is a almost whitish, clearish colored, you won't be able to tell that that's on the beans without the color in it. You learned that in Boy Scouts? Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Lower it. Actually, go back up with it. Trying to be really gentle with the beans. Even these hoppers, as the beans pull in, there's diverters in there to keep it flowing down so the beans aren't dropping a long ways and shattering and breaking.
Okay.
There's nothing worse than guys that are getting the seed beans and then watching them throw those bags landing on concrete, because those beans will shatter if not being taken care of correctly. And seed's not getting any cheaper.
Yeah, right.
So pretty much, I mean, your beans get cleaned in the factory when they get rebagged, but you can never get it like perfect. So when our beans up this conveyor down into the drum, before they reach the drum, there's a vacuum system up here which sucks any of the shells or holes that got through the factory, and then it collects it down here. And this box down here collects it, and we dump it every couple days, but I mean,
wow,
we've done probably 1,000 units and collected this much, so that's pulling all the fines out, which helps it treat better.
Cool.
Because if you have these fines in there, there's chances that
It can cause problems.
there's chances that your treatment just won't stick to it too.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have naked beans in there. So yeah, that's the one really nice part about this treater.
Cool. What's that one?
That's the dry additive feeder. That's what we put the 007 in, which is this stuff, and it's just powder, which it goes up inside there and then feeds out through the auger into the drum, and then it's about halfway into the drum, and then just has a few slats at the bottom of this auger, and it drops it right down onto the beans as they tumble.
Okay.
So it helps with drying them, and then it helps with the flowability coming out of the boxes, going into the bulk fills on the planters, and then even into the seed meter. Makes them slick so they all roll. So it's got the pads down there. You see the weight pads on the floor. So as this empties out, the computer senses how much weight's left in it, and it's going to keep that door opening and closing, just so it feeds exactly 1,200. I think it's seeds per minute right out of there, and that'll be more than that. 1,200 seeds per second. It's 1,200 seeds per second, right?
No,
Per minute.
1,200 pounds per minute.
1,200 pounds per minute. Yep.
Okay.
So.
We run at 1,600. Our old treater we ran like 1,700 to 1,800, depending on the seed size.
Sure. But that's pretty imperative to making sure everything gets treated uniformly and runs out right. I mean, this has the capacity of doing 3,000 to 4,000 units of beans a day. You know, I think the way we've been running it, I think our best day was a little over 2,000. It helps to have a couple people here. You know, you technically wouldn't need to have 2 or 3 people here, but it's just nice to you got more people keeping an eye on everything.
Load and unload while
Yeah.
one person's managing it.
Yep. Just adds to the efficiency of the whole operation.
Well, there you have it. That is how the state-of-the-art equipment treats soybean seed. And just a quick look never hurt anybody. Now, I couldn't have just come within like 200 feet of the Sloan's in Cuba City and not driven through the lot. I have to look. Farmer's policy, I like to call it. They got more tractors here than Bloomington, but they used to have a whole line of tractors on the other end over there, but they don't really have much now. Everything's down out back. Hannah, it's not a want, it's a need, okay? Trust me. Oh, Penny. She's a sweetheart. Looks like the snow did manage to melt this afternoon, but unfortunately it left us with another muddy mess. and they're pretty much calling for this kind of weather in the foreseeable future. Now, Andrew just informed me today that the insurance date where we can technically start planting corn this year is April 11th, and I think he said it's the 26th for soybeans of April. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to be planting corn by the 11th, but, you know, there's always wishful thinking. The weather could change. We have seen it dry out pretty fast after all, but, I mean, this has been looking like a trend all of March. So I just want to give a quick thank you to the guys at Nutrien for showing us around their soybean seed treater. It was cool seeing the latest tech in that. It's definitely advanced in the last 8 years since I had done it, and it's cool to see. So that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out all of our other videos. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, all How Farms Work. I'm going to start hulling corn pretty much any time here, and I need to get all the corn left in the bins, which is, I think, like 25,000 bushels worth. But, yeah, that's for another video. I'll see you next time.